Tonight we are going to be reading Hod Of Gevurah, and if we want to really understand what it means, Hod Of Gevurah is recognizing the powers that are in us. Most people, they don't really understand or recognize the power that God gave them. Now, what does it really mean? Many times in a situation, we rather be weak than strong. Such as, I don't feel like dealing with this right now. I don't feel like dealing with this individual right now. I don't feel like now going into this discussion right now. Or whatever it is, and sometimes I just feel like covering my head with my blanket and not to deal with the situation. And it says, it's like as if I'd rather be weak right now. If I know that I have the power to deal with it, then I have to deal with it. Sometimes I kind of run or give up from the beginning. So it seems to us, in many times, that before we even started the battle, that we're too weak to even deal with it. But the reality, the truth is, that it's the complete opposite. That in all situations, I have to choose to be strong and not to be weak. Now, the reality is that there is situations that I am weak. In many situations, I need to admit, so to say, or to realize, or to recognize that I have much more power in me than I think. And Hod, one of the ways of explaining or interpreting Hod, comes from the word in Hebrew, lehodot, or hoda'ah. Hodaya means that not hodaya means that I thank, but hoda'ah means that I admit. I explained many times that when we wake up in the morning and we say modeh ani, modeh can be interpreted as I thank, but modeh also means I admit. Because in Hebrew, lehodot means to admit. So Hod has in it also the root that will explain the word is that I'm admitting. And sometimes when I'm not willing to admit a situation, then I don't know how to deal with it. It takes a lot of the times just for me to admit and to recognize that either in a certain situation I am weak, but I also have to bring myself to a situation that I admit and I recognize in me that I have powers way more than what comes out to the surface. This is really the Hod Of Gevurah, is to take the Gevurah in me, the strength in me. I have a lot of strength in me, much more than what you think. And I'm sure you saw many times that a person in a state of emergency or some situation that is required, and suddenly the person is very brave and very strong and is able to do many things. As the famous quote goes, when the tough gets going, the going gets tough, or however it's said. But nevertheless, Hod Of Gevurah comes to teach me that I need to lehodot. Lehodot, it can be translated in two ways. First of all is to thank. It's to thank Hashem. Lehodot is to thank. I thank you, Hashem. When I thank Hashem for everything that He gave me, the good and the bad, it starts arousing this Gevurah in me. I'll explain a little bit more thorough in a second. The second thing that I need to do when I tzarich lehodot, when I need to thank, is not only thank, the other way of translating it is to admit. Most people don't know how to admit. A lot of people, they wonder, how do I do tshuva? Yesterday, a young man said, how do we do tshuva? Is there a book? Is there a manual? Tshuva for dummies? So there is tshuva for dummies. It's 4 steps that you need to take. And one of the steps, it's called that you have to admit. Now we're still in the end of the month of Nisan, so we don't do vidui. Next week we're going into the month of Iyar. We're starting to do vidui 3 times a day. Ashamnu, bagadnu, gazalnu, I've stolen, I've lied, I've cheated. This is called vidui. Now to say vidui quietly to Hashem, that's not so hard. But to come to a person and tell him straight into his face, I talk lashon hara about you, I want to ask you forgiveness, that's not so easy to come and admit. But admitting, it's a big part of me moving forward. So I need to apply 2 things when it comes to Hod Of Gevurah. First of all, lehodot is to thank Hashem for everything that I have, the good and the bad. You have much more than what you think. The second thing is that I have to admit. And what does it mean that I admit? If I'm weak at something or I did something wrong, admit it. Here we want to take something to the next step And to apply this Hod Gevurah is to admit, who am I kidding? Hashem gave me unbelievable powers to climb this mountain, and who am I to say that I can't? So I have to take responsibility for what Hashem is requiring me to do in this world. If Hashem wants me to deal right now with a certain situation, Hashem already, so to say, architected the situation in my life, it means that Hashem also gave me the power to do it. So in some cases, I will be already from the beginning say, I can't do it, it's too much for me. I'd rather turn my head away. Then I have to take the power of Hoda'ah, and to admit, no, Hashem gave me responsibility, and I have to take responsibility and to do what Hashem wants me to do in this world. Now, in many cases, when I have a challenge, the challenge looks much harder for me that I think I can't handle it. I see a certain challenge, and in my mind already, I say this is way too much for me to deal with. And in many cases, there will be a challenge or a situation in my life that I do feel weak, and I am weak. And here, I need to, again, use the power of admitting, to admit, I'm too weak here. It's too hard for me. A lot of people, they have a situation that they have an ego. They don't want to say, I can't do this. It's too much for me. It's too big for me. I also need to admit also when I have weakness. But with that, I have to remember, in any way you're looking at it, that a person can never and should never give up. Because if Hashem put already a struggle in my life, He also gave me all the tools and all the ability to deal with it. And there is a temptation, there's always going to be a temptation to just let go. To say, you know what, I don't want to deal with this right now, just whatever. I don't want to deal with it. But then this is the temptation that I need to let go. You have to be strong. This is where specifically we're talking about the Hod Gevurah. I need to take the strength now and understand, no, there's not the time to give up right now. And in order for me to understand, whether you admit it or not, whether you agree with it or not, or maybe you are aware of it or not, we all have this hidden gevurah in us, this unbelievable strength that is not revealed to the outside. How do I reveal this hidden strength? Is when I thank the Kadosh Baruch Hu. When I thank the Kadosh Baruch Hu for everything that He gives me. And not only that, again, in English sometimes the teaching is hard, because in Hebrew, if this class would be right now in Hebrew, I would say, how do you reveal the hidden strength that you have in you? Al yadei shemodim lakadosh baruch Hu. By the fact that you modim. What's modim? I told you already. It can be thanking and it can be admitting. So in Hebrew it's one word, in English it has to go into two words. But how do I reveal this gevurah in me, this strength? A, I need to thank Hashem for everything that I have. And B, I need to admit to the Kadosh Baruch Hu for the good and the bad. That will reveal this power of gevurah in me, of strength and emunah. Strength and emunah, sometimes they go hand in hand, because if my emunah, if my faith is strong, I will be the most powerful person. I will be unbeatable. Why? Because I have emunah. I have faith. Hashem is with me. I will do whatever I can, whatever I need to. So, yesterday we spoke about Netzach Shebagvura. Netzach, I told you, this is so to say controlling your Gvura and managing where you're putting effort and strength. But if you're looking at the Sfirot, Hod and Netzach, they go together. It's a husband and wife. Because the right side of the Sfirot, which will be Chochmah, Chesed, Netzach, this is called the right side. These are called the male part of the Sfirot. The left side, which is Bina, Gvura, and Hod, these are the female parts. So Netzach and Hod, they're a couple, like a husband and wife. So Netzach is the power that I can overpower the Gvura or control the Gvura, but Hod is the admitting of weakness. And there's nothing wrong with admit that I have weakness. There's nothing wrong with that. But when I admit, at least I start arousing in me this hidden strength. Just that I have to be very careful that even if I do have a weakness for something, I have the ability of transforming the weakness into an advantage. This is called, in the Kabbalistic term, Yitron ha'or min ha'choshech, the advantage of light that comes from darkness. The simple example for that, take now a candle, take the candle outside to a sunny daylight in middle of the day. Would you see the light of the candle? The flame, you won't see anything. Why? Because the light outside of the sun is way too strong. Take the same candle into a dark basement, suddenly the light is dominating. Even a little bit of light, it diminishes the darkness. There's no darkness anymore. So when you bring light from darkness, it's called Yitron Or Min HaChoshech. Oh, now I see the advantage of the light because it's stronger than the darkness. So I have to understand that even when there's a weakness in me, if I admit in this weakness, I have the ability to transform the weakness into something actually strong and positive, and not to let it affect me. So in times that I'm weak and things doesn't seem like it's in my control, that's the time when I have to be humble and admit in my weakness, because that's how I actually transform the weakness into something strong. So practically saying, we want to take some homework, is that I have to observe in a state of situation of something that is difficult for me, how do I behave? So if nothing happened to you today, maybe look in the last week or in the last month, in a state of some type of weakness that you had, how did you behave? Did you right away push back? Did you right away put a fight? Did you fall into sadness, despair? Or did you right away pull up your sleeves? You have to make an analysis. And in order for me to apply that, then I have to see, okay, in this situation I felt weakness, and how did I behave? I backed up. Okay, so you did the wrong thing. If you pulled up your sleeves and says, okay, I'm going to do it. I know it's not something I want to do, but I'm going to deal with it. Then obviously you dealt with it the right way. And the only way to start dealing with things when I'm meeting this situation is when I start thinking positive of things. Okay, it's hard, but it's not as hard as it could have been. Or the situation is bad, but it could have been much, much worse. And you have to strengthen thoughts of being positive by understanding that any situation that Hashem put in front of me, a challenge, I have enough power to deal with it. There's no such a thing that the Kadosh Baruch Hu threw at you something without the ability of catching it. Hashem doesn't do things like this. So if right now you try to locate, so to say, a challenge in your life, and to understand, wait a minute, this challenge might seem like a mountain right now, but obviously there's some hidden power here. And let me see how I apply this Hod Of Gevurah, admitting and thanking, so I can bring this strength out, this Gevurah and the power, because Hashem gave me the challenge, Hashem gave me the tools and the ability to bring to a solution. And this is why I have to understand that Hashem gave me responsibility in this world. The responsibility is not necessarily to sit down and learn Torah. Sometimes the responsibility is to deal with the situation and to deal with it the right way. It could be this situation that I have to deal with now with a certain argument. Dealing with it the right way is don't get angry. Don't get judgmental. Don't look for revenge. Don't start talking Lashon Hara. Deal with it with the way the Torah wants you to deal with it. I'm just giving you one example out of many so you can start relating with Hashem threw a challenge into your life. Okay, you take a stop, you take a deep breath, you say, okay, let me analyze the challenge. Must be the Kadosh Baruch Hu already gave me all the tools, all the power to deal with it. I have to thank Hashem for giving me this challenge. I have to thank Hashem for everything that I have. I have to admit. And by doing all that, that's how I revealed this Sfirah of Hod Of Gevurah, is admitting and being humble and thanking Hashem, and I'm able to bring this hidden power to the surface. Why? Because that's what Hashem wants me to do right now. And I have to take responsibility and to understand that if Hashem already gave me this responsibility, He gave me the ability to be able to deal with it and to overpower it.